No. This can't wait a second longer. I was thinking in my previous short that this movie is an absolute disaster. It's an abject failure as an adaptation of a beloved Roald Dahl classic, as a kids movie, and as a piece of media in general. And the thing is, I bet this video is the first time you've heard this movie in spite of it coming out just yesterday due to how little marketing it's actually gotten. How this movie was announced back in 2023 and didn't get an official trailer until not even 2 weeks before its official release. And after seeing this movie, I can see why Netflix was so ashamed of having their logo attached to this garbage. And you know what? I was on board with this for the longest time. Ever since Netflix acquired the Roald Dahl estate, they put out the Matilda special and the wonderful story of Henry Sugar shorts that not only captured the spirit of their respective source material in spades, but also finally got Wes Anderson an Oscar on the shelf. And you know, the internet's given Phil Johnson the cold shoulder the past few years ever since the retroactive poor reception of Ralph Breaks the Internet. P.S. I still defend that movie. But great Caesar's ghost did they drop the ball with this one. First off, the premise. What's the original book about? It's about two morally and physically nasty people who hate everybody, so the pet monkeys and the birds they keep making into pies team up to take them down. And considering it's a relatively short book, this movie attempts to expand on the lore. Okay, not a bad idea, but the things they do add do nothing more than subtract from the overall story. It throws in this whole plot about an amusement park, them campaigning to be mayor, these two orphans whose family abandoned them and come across the monkeys, which, guess what this is going for them? And all these new characters are either too boring or cliche to even give a shit about them, or too obnoxious to even tolerate. Especially the title characters which, unlike the original book, they were lovable to hate. Here they just got on my nerves, not helped by the terrible performances of Marco Martindale and Johnny Vegas. Like, you know the scene in the original book where Mrs. Twit pranked her husband by replacing his spaghetti with worms and said, "You know why your spaghetti was squishy? Because it was worms." Well, here she says it in the most irritating way you can imagine. And the rest of these townfolk are so gullible that it's not even funny. Like, they see the Twits on TV and want them to become mayor all because they don't like what the current one has done to the place. But then in the end, when they get exposed, they turn on them. Wow, what totally original and comparing social commentary you got there, movie. Who the hell wrote this, Anne McKay? And I'm not kidding when I say this movie only represents a book at face value, and the few scenes taken from them are ruined by awful performances and or awful writing. Like, you know the original book's ending where the heroes flip the Twitch room upside down and dip their heads with glue, thus tricking them into staying on their heads and getting the dreaded shrinks which compress their bodies into nothingness? This movie said, screw all that, let's just have our heroes feel bad for tricking them and setting them free in hopes that they'll reform. Well, surprise, surprise, the Twits don't reform and had to chase them in a pointless second climax. Great freaking job, guys! And you know, there's been a recent trend on the internet of fans of another Roald Dahl book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, bashing the original Willy Wonka for rendering the original source material unrecognizable. But here's the thing. Willy Wonka has an excuse in that it still gave us good writing, good characters, and good visuals. This movie has none of that and then some. The animation and visuals feel like they're trying to replicate the Leica style into CGI, except here it just looks more ugly and uncanny than anything. But you know what makes me despise this movie more than words can ever describe? It's the jokes and how much it misunderstands the Roald Dahl humor. I get it. The original book had gross-out humor too, but he knew how to balance it out with witty characters and dialogue. Here, this movie thinks the original story was all gross-up and amps it up to 11 like a low-tier DreamWorks movie. Like, there's this whole running gag about hot dog meat splasting everywhere, and then you got the whole thing with the Twitch referring to the diorama as diarrhea and the mayor's ass exploding from eating too much cake. Did any tweens write this? So overall, this movie completely fails at every conceivable level. As an adaptation of a beloved children's book, it fails because it renders the story, lore, and characters borderline unrecognizable. As a film of itself, it fails because of how much I despise the way it looked, sounded, and felt throughout its runtime. And it further cements 2025 as one of the very worst years in animation film history, up there with Sneaks, Smurfs, and Gabby's Dollhouse. And at this point, I can only hold Arco and the Magnificent Light just come out already so that 2025 can end on a solid enough note and that people would finally stop taking animation for granted.